You are shaped by those closest to you. Even if you live in a very open-minded society, you can still turn into a completely closed-off person. I want you to pay attention to this, especially. So what needs to change? The 6 people around you need to change. I explained this at length in my book, What Am I? Because many scientific studies today show that our subconscious directly copies the emotions, thoughts, and perspectives on life of the people around us. Our subconscious adopts their survival strategies and applies them as if they were its own methods. That's why I'm asking you, who are the 6 people around you? Are they lifting you up or pulling you down? Who do you spend time with? Who do you allow into your life? Are you choosing people who lift you up, or are you perhaps unknowingly choosing those who bring you down? I'm going to give you a short test. Be sure to give this test to the people you will coach in the future as well. Write down the 6 people you see most often. Include those in your household and write their names on a piece of paper. For example, Ali, Mehmet, Hussein, Leila. Then consider the life energy of these people. We don't go into too much detail when we talk about life energy. Just think about how they generally view life. What is Leila's life energy level, for example? 8? How old is Mehmet? 7? Collect all the points and divide by 6. The result you get is your life energy. It's that simple and that important. Maybe as children we didn't have the chance to choose the people around us, but now we do. Consciously choosing our environment is the most powerful step we can take to change our lives. To help reinforce what I've explained, I'm going to recommend 2 movies or series to you. Because when we watch a movie or series and understand the choices the characters make, it helps us notice similar patterns in our own lives. Now, instead of geography, I have 2 movie or series recommendations about how the people around us shape our destiny. The first is Layla M. Actually, it's Layla M, but it's spelled as Layla M. This film takes place in Amsterdam. It's actually similar to the example I gave a moment ago. In the film, you'll see a girl who looks at life warmly and normally. You'll witness how, because of her environment, she transforms into a completely different person. It's a great film to understand the impact of environment on a person. The second is Califat. Actually, Califat means caliph. Again, this is how it's written in Western languages. This series, on the other hand, takes place in Sweden. It tells the story of how a girl, living an ordinary life with no radical thoughts, ends up getting involved in it. So, you watch how her thoughts change under the influence of the people around her and how she is dragged into a completely different life path. I especially watch series like this because no matter how well you know and explain the influence of the environment, seeing it again and again is a very valuable reminder. Because all of us sometimes forget, and we forget how the people around us affect us, how they sometimes transform us without us even realizing it. That's why watching a movie or a series is important at this point. Series like Layla M and Caliphate will help you understand more clearly how your environment shapes you. To summarize what I've explained, the subconscious starts at 0 when we are born, with some exceptions. More than our geography, it is the 6 people closest to us who shape us. The subconscious determines not only our thoughts, but also our lifespan and how we will live. It determines them. Yes, you heard that right. There is a saying among us, 1 foot in the grave or 70 years old, life is over. But in fact, this is entirely a trick of the subconscious. It's a result of the patterns imposed on us by society. Can a person's lifespan and quality of life be determined by the subconscious? Studies say yes, it can be determined. I have also done research on longevity in the past. I'm trying to understand. By the way, I want to share a documentary that just came to my mind. On Netflix, it's called Live to 100 Secrets of the Blue Zones. Add this to your watch list as well. It's related to this topic. Anyway, let's continue with the misconceptions in our society on this subject. So what are they? For example, I'm old now, it's over. You can't do anything after 60. After you retire, you should just wait for death. I don't accept these things. That's why I've always collected contrary examples, because whatever the subconscious accepts, it makes happen. If you feel old at 50, your subconscious will program your entire metabolism accordingly. If you feel strong, your subconscious will make your body function accordingly. Age is just a number. Here, the real determining factor is your perspective on life. So I was doing interviews with people who had lived long lives. I met a lady who was 95 years old in Bursa, or rather I had heard about her existence. Then I found a connection. I even visited her home, and I tried to understand what made her different, so to speak. Even at the age of 95, she was learning something new every day. For example, she was a painter and did her drawings on an iPad. She did her own shopping herself. Of course, her daughters would come and help her. But I realized something. She didn't accept being old, she would immediately adapt to the new. In fact, staying young means this: you can test yourself by how you adapt to new things. The harder it is for you to adapt to something new, the older you are. The easier it is for you to adapt to something new, the younger you are. Make a note of this. Anyway, let's continue. Getting to know and changing your subconscious absolutely determines how long you will live, what you will change, or at what quality you will continue your life. That's why you shouldn't accept incorrectly coded subconscious records. Don't say, life is over at 70. Reject the idea of having one foot in the grave. Let go of the belief that nothing can happen after this age. If you want a quality, peaceful, and energetic life, you need to change your subconscious. Now we're going to talk about exactly that. Why is it so important to change subconscious codes? Why do I use the word code? Because it's almost identical to the coding system in computers. Certain commands are written into a computer and the system operates according to these commands. Now you press a button and the video plays. You press another button and it stops. Your subconscious works in the same way. And we live according to these codes. Most of the time we think we're making conscious decisions, but in reality our subconscious has already made that decision. We are just convincing ourselves of that decision. There is a very interesting scientific study about this. It says that our decisions are determined exactly 6 seconds before we consciously make them. So the moment you say, I chose this coffee, your subconscious has actually already decided this 6 seconds earlier. You are just convincing yourself of it. That's why knowing yourself means knowing your subconscious. Whatever I have achieved in my life, whatever area I have improved myself in, it was thanks to applying these methods. I'm telling you this honestly. My first book was published in 2018 and has been translated into 14 different languages so far. It made it onto bestseller lists in many parts of the world. But in my childhood, there was no belief in my subconscious that I could be successful. In fact, as you know, when you have such dreams, your surroundings don't even support you. Instead, they start by saying you're dreaming silly, unrealistic dreams. They approach you with comments like, you'll just end up disappointed. That's why many changes happen not thanks to others, but in spite of others. So how did I get here? Of course, none of this happened on its own. There is actually a subconscious transformation process behind these achievements. In fact, when I tell my story, many people can't make sense of it, they can't even believe it, because I was someone who couldn't even speak in front of 3 or 5 people. In fact, sometimes my friends from middle school or high school write to me on social media. They say, there was a Hakan in our class, is that you? They ask. Because I was so quiet back then, so silent that I never made a sound. They can't comprehend that the person who now speaks in public, on television, and in front of people is the same person. Of course, I always made an effort, but somehow I didn't start from 0. I started from -2, -3. All those pains I went through, the moments when I said, this has to change now. You know, I told you the story about the dog and the nail, right? My story was a bit like that too. There was a diction class at university. The teacher handed out stories to everyone. We had even practiced them, the stories. We didn't do it right away, you know. And look, there were probably 25 to 30 people in the classroom. When I got up, I couldn't read from the paper. I was that nervous. And that day, it became a painful experience for me. I said, this can't go on like this. Then the techniques I've told you here and the ones I'll tell you later, it became a journey of change for me. It's not just about sitting down and thinking, oh, there's a technique, like, let me read this and explain it to someone else. This whole journey actually started with my own process of changing myself. Then it turned into, if I can change, others can change too. I moved forward with this and truly believed in it. That's why the reason I talk about these topics with such conviction is because of this transformation I personally experienced. If even that quiet kid in the classroom can change, then for me, anyone can change. Now let's talk about the system that forms the records of the subconscious in a moment. And let's see together exactly how we can change these records.